And that was why I want to discuss it, not to alarm
So something
anyone,
that you
just to
actually have
have,
the current year.
just to have,
That it's
just to have
something
some
you can do in
transparency.
16.
Just to have some
Let me
transparency on
cut
what
in.
is going on with the finances in the city of Statham and why we don't know what we have.
Okay, let me say something. Fiscal year 16, it was on the old software from US 1, and we hired a CPA, Jimmy Whitaker, to, take care of the imbalances, and that has been done. So everything is up to date, and it was turned over to Hawkins to do the actual audit. Because Hawkins couldn't do the accounting part and do the audit himself. So that's why we hired Jimmy Whitaker to do the accounting part before we hand it over to Hawkins. So Hawkins should have everything in line to do the audit. I don't know why they're not done, but they've not returned my call or replied back to my emails also. So I don't know what else we can do besides just like keep calling them or whatever, until we get something.
Does anybody else in the council share my concern about,
Now, a couple of months back, we had a letter, and they said that the outside firm that's doing the accounting needed the months of May and June from here to complete 16, and that he thought 17 was gonna run pretty smooth. But now, I don't, I'm hoping it's the May and June has been sent to them.
Yeah, Jimmy, the CPA, is working on balancing the fiscal year 17.
Well, then I guess he got what he
Yeah,
needed.
he got what
completed.
he needed, because I'm the
16.
only one that can run the reports for Jimmy. Nobody else can. Not even Michelle, not even Sandra, nobody else here can do those reports for him.
Well, he wouldn't have started in the 17, I
Yeah.
wouldn't think, unless he completed
Yeah, they have to
16.
finish 16 first, we want to be going to 17.
But we hadn't been told that, so
So,
we're just kind of sitting here in the dark.
yeah,
But if he's got it, I'm glad.
yeah, he's got
But I
it.
haven't gone to Jerry, well, I did go to Jerry's one time. Robert and Gail and I went up there. So, if all the accounting is done, we don't have to continue to work with Jerry. We can pick our stuff up and take it somewhere else.
Well, they got to finish the 16 first.
Yeah.
It kind of got us in the mind because once they get through and hey, I went a number of times
I know,
and you went once.
yeah, I went once. I mean, and it just feels like to me that nothing's getting done. Everybody's trying to do something, but nothing's getting done. We're not getting any answers. And here comes 19. Here comes 2019. And if we keep on, they could yank the city's charter. Then there wouldn't be a Statham. It would be the town formerly known as Statham Unincorporated. And I don't want that. Nobody wants that. And if whatever we have to do, we need to get our audits done, and I want to talk about it every month until we get 16, 17, and 18. You can just put it on the agenda, and we'll just talk about it every month until we get in a better position as far as the audits and budget goes.
And you'll provide us a report on your meetings with them. Is that right?
Maybe it's a committee that's supposed to be working on it, to go right there sometime.
Why don't we invite them to come and, give us an update every month?
That's a good idea.
I think that's a great idea.
Let him come to us.
Yeah, could we do that?
I don't see anything wrong with that. I just invite them.
Maybe we can hold an audit festival and invite them to come to their own audit. They would come. I don't know. I want something done about the audits.
Now, we had a sensible suggestion just then. I think that we should have them report out until they're done.
worth a try, Mike. Good
Okay.
call, and ask them to come
Yeah.
to us and explain.
Yeah.
The only issue is the peanuts, so they're compelled to come.
Yeah, we do.
Is
there such a thing as contempt
Yeah, that
of
would be
city?
a start.
You enforce it through Superior Court, just like you do any other subpoena. You can't do it, but you can take a report and have the judge enforce the subpoena that's issued by the city.
One that's changed under oath as well, or?
Can we do, get that?
You want to be here for work session next month?
Yes.
I don't know that we can get one issued and force them to comply by Tuesday night, but we can get them here for work session.
Next month, I think would be a better idea.
Because it is ridiculous.
I agree.
Now, can we talk about the budget?
Yeah.
Okay. We had scheduled a budget meeting, last week and it got postponed. Mike, can you let us know where we're at as far as, being able to have the numbers for us for that budget meeting coming up?
Yeah, since we're short on staff and nobody else can help me, Miss Susan has been calling and she's helping me sort it out, the accounts that the money, the two items that we were concerned about went into a accounts receivable account instead of the revenue account.
Mhm.
So she's helped me sort it out. So what we need to do is just move the funds into the correct account number to reflect it in the revenue. That's it.
How long do you think that would take?
We should get it done by the middle of next week.
So can we set up a meeting?
We can do a meeting for the end of the week. Do you guys want to?
I think that would work for me.
Thursday or Friday?
And-
No, not at the end of the week,
Okay.
at the middle of the week, yeah.
Middle?
Well, the work won't be done until the middle of the week.
Yeah. Or,
I thought we
No.
already had a meeting planned for next Thursday.
that's not the budget workshop.
Oh, okay.
That's not the budget workshop.
Now, to help us, can we do it at
Well, we
the
can
ending
do
of
it
the following
on
week?
I'll come on.
The following Monday?
But I will not come Thursday or Friday.
There you go. Can we do it the following
We can schedule that.
week? That'd be great. Okay. Thank you.
You want to let everybody know, on Monday or Tuesday.
Anything else?
No, that's it. That's all on that.
All right.
Okay, Kurt, yeah, come on.
Something to follow that act. I'm Kurt Bogenreiter. I live at 1969 Broad Street, but my issue is concerning the property at 1921 Railroad Street, I guess affectionately known as the train depot in town. Last week I was informed by the city maintenance manager, or I should say my wife was informed, that we would no longer be allowed egress or dock access to the two docks that are on Broad Street. These are two docks that have been there since 1920, I guess probably. And we've had egress to those docks since I've owned the building, which has been approximately 20 years. I believe Mr. Ross Maddox, previous to that, had access to both those docks when he had a business there. When I bought it, we renovated the building, and we've had a number of different businesses there, including an antique store and an antique auction. Currently, we run a different business out of there, which is actually primarily a shipping business, an online, we are online purveyors, and we utilize the building now for inventory, and we use it for shipping and receiving. So I guess I would ask why the city or members of the city decided to reduce our access to the building, which basically does make our mode of operation somewhat different if I don't have access to those docks or to the ramp leading up to the building. So I guess my question would be first, why the city decided to remove our egress or our access to the docks and to the building, and what the actual process was to basically manipulate, I guess it's not even city property, it's actually railroad property, but it's being utilized by, I guess, the state and the city as egress on Railroad Street. What the process would be by the city without notifying the business owner to enact or a engineering, I guess, event. In other words, they de-striped the access, which was striped by the city. What the process is there when we were never notified that it was going to be done until it was basically told to us it was going to be done. So again, I guess I'd like to know two questions, the answer to two questions. Why, and well, what, and when the process was I guess, discussed or enacted. And again, like I said, why we weren't notified of those actions that are now impacting our business. So that's essentially what I'm looking
I'll
for.
give you some answers on that.
Okay.
I did notify you.
No, there was no notification. The city engineer notified my wife that it was going to be done. The procedure was never discussed with me, not once. That's not true. No, you didn't. You did not. You told me after Sammy had contacted my wife, and then you and I discussed it,
Right.
and then you told me that was going to be done. But previous to that, there was no process.
Right.
There was zero process. There was no process as far as the city communicating to me, the business owner, that the city was going to be taking this action. Until the city decided to take the action. Then they said, you told me that it was going to be done. And I pleaded my case to you.
That's right.
And
we
then it
talked
was done.
You talked about it'd be okay with just one dock.
Well, I conceded the dock on the end, yes, sir.
So,
Yes.
so that's the only one we marked out.
No, both of them got marked out. And if that's what we agreed to, that's fine. At this point, we really don't use the one end dock the way we used to when we had the auction and the antique store operating out of there. Now, basically, most of our inventory is being removed from the one set of dock doors and from the ramp, which was previously a handicap ramp. So if that's what the city would, I would concede that one space, but like I said, that we've always had egress.
Let me get up to date.
Okay.
After we marked out that one spot, and Ben said, well, we need the space for the festival. So,
Well, all the spaces are allowed for the festival, whether they're egress to a building or whether they're parking spaces. I mean, that's,
well, that's the way it got marked out.
okay, so it mistakenly was marked out.
No,
No, it's done for one day benefit.
I came and talked to Robert. I worked all Sunday afternoon doing the layout.
Okay.
And I thought, well, let me ride down there and make sure that those numbers got put where they should be.
Okay.
Well, they were not done. And on Monday morning, I came and called with Sam. I talked with Robert. And Robert said, do what you need to do. And I told Robert, I said, the only time I ask for the street or anything is when I do a festival. And the way those spots were marked out,
Okay.
for your loading.
Yes.
My numbers were so scrambled that I could not do anything, and I asked them to be painted over. And as long as I have been here doing anything, I have never seen the two spots down this way. I've never seen those doors open, only the one up near the street.
Okay.
And I don't do the festivals for my health. I do them to help the community. And if you walk out that back door and look at that park out there, that we just spent over $9,000 building, then you will know why we do the festival and why I need those spots.
No disrespect, this has nothing to do with the festival.
Well, it does, to me, it does a lot.
Okay.
As far as the extended beyond the festival, which I
And
agree.
you're not using 3 spaces at one time, Kurt. You don't need but one loading dock down there.
Says who?
Well,
Says
let me
me.
ask you this. So tell me about the other businesses. How many of them have reserved parking places?
They're not reserved parking places. They're not reserved parking. We use them for parking. They are egress to the
They,
building.
you have the 2 parking places in front of your front door.
Those were formerly handicap spaces.
Okay, but you don't have customers going in, you're doing.
What difference does it make any difference? We have
No, it
customers
makes
coming in. No, it does
every,
not.
it makes every
No, it
difference.
does not.
Being that our
No, it does
parking
not.
area, allow me to
not.
finish,
Go ahead.
being that we have a shortage of parking right now.
No, we do not. have-
Yes, we do.
No.
Yes, we do. Go down there during the
No,
lunch
we do
area.
not. There has never been a shortage of parking on Railroad Street. I've owned that building for 20 years. There has never been an occasion where somebody has not been able to find a parking space.
Let me ask
There
that
has
question.
never, not once. Not once. Even before the auxiliary lot was
Hang on,
put
hang
in,
on.
there was never a shortage of parking.
There's a shortage.
There was never a
There's a
shortage.
shortage.
There was never a shortage of parking. That's not true.
Right.
It's simply not true.
All right, hold
Well, I
on.
talked with you one day, sometime back, and you told me we're already down there on Tuesdays. So why do you?
What
miss
difference
so
does that
much?
make if we're only there
So why
half the
would you
day
need
on
4
Wednesday?
parking places?
And we are there every single day.
Well, I mean.
Because you don't see it is not cause
I'm
for
going by
2
what
or
you
3 city
told me.
council members to make a decision that affects my business
And you realize
without
that
the
the
council.
striping
without
says
council.
you can't park there ever, and that means that you can't even park your trucks.
We are
to the
loading and
address.
unloading.
Those stripes.
What is your problem with, I don't understand.
I see that there is a shortage of parking.
There is no shortage of
Hold on,
parking.
hold on,
That is
hold on.
not true.
We're not
That is
getting-
totally false.
We're not getting anywhere, so. Ain't no use to argue back and forth.
Okay, so,
So we marked out one of the parking spots.
no, you marked up
I'm the
two of them. Hey, first of all, you are confusing what they are. They are not parking spaces. They are egress to a loading dock.
That's not.
They are not parking spaces. You are confused.
And
You are
you told me
confusing
you
what
would
they
do that
are.
one, right?
They are access to my building. Just like the antique store down here has 2 or 3 spaces for access to their loading dock. Just like this antique store down here has access to their loading dock. We need
Oh, no,
access to
there
the
are
loading.
parking places, there are open parking places.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes,
They are
they
hatched. They are not. They are
Look,
hatched.
yeah.
They are hatched loading space. It's for loading space. It's
But
not
you
not
have them
parking.
marked as, and you put the signs up.
No
as
parking.
fire, as fire.
What's the difference to no parking?
And
sign?
you park a vehicle in there, and you.
And I'm, do not leave. I'm working in the building. I am
Yes,
unloading
leave it
and
to go in the
loading.
building.
I am loading and unloading parcels. We ship up to 150 packages per week. And we are there at least 3 days, shipping. We ship anything from a small screw to a large fender or a large hood, rear ends, engines, engine blocks, transmissions, all heavy items that we need access to with a loading dock.
You
Okay.
have,
We need to
you have
access
cranes to get them out of that dock
No, I use a loading dock. Why would I need a crane?
for heavy engines.
Yeah. Do I not look like I can handle anything?
I have a question.
I mean, this
Can I
doesn't
ask
make
you a
any
question?
they're not parking spaces. This is access to my building, which has been there for 20 years. That's why I'm asking, why has this, actually, it's not even city council. It's apparently 1, 2, 3 members of the city council and the mayor who made a decision to reduce my access to my building, to reduce the ability for me to perform my business without even coming to talk to me until it was decided that the act would be done.
Well, you can.
I don't see how that would be
before you put
justified.
those signs up.
There were no parking signs there. There was egress to that building before I bought it. Ross Maddox had no parking signs there, and they didn't have a problem with it. The egress to the 2 doors where there's a ramp, that was installed by the city. I asked to have that installed by the city, and the city happily came out and gave that to me. Because we have to have access to it for surface level loading and unloading. We bring hundreds of items.
We've never kept you out of that building.
Pardon me?
We've never blocked you out of that building.
Well, I'm not saying that.
My
You are
numbers were scrambled and I
you are
needed it straight.
Okay, see, now I'm confused. You're telling me that you blacked the spaces out for the festival, which leads me to believe that they will be restriped after the festival. Is that true?
No.
And I don't know
Well,
why.
then what you're saying is not true. What you're saying is that they were blacked out because you decided to black them out, and not for the festival. So why did you enter anything about the festival into the conversation?
Kurt, let's try to come up with a resolution.
Well,
Okay, now, let me make a suggestion.
Okay, go ahead.
Whether you agree with me or not, we need parking, okay?
Okay.
But you say you need access to that middle dock.
To the one dock.
Okay, would you be comfortable with the 2 parking places that you have in front of your front door?
Right.
Have these stripes, and we want you to be able to do your business.
Right.
Would you be comfortable with getting the dock back? And that was getting the access to the dock back.
No, we would need the surface level loading, which is a handicap ramp to load packages from that door. And we also need, it's 2 separate buildings. It's a lower building, and then there's a set of stairs that go up to what is called a depot. Again, it's called the depot, and the loading docks are called loading docks. In general, you have egress to and in and out of the loading dock for
Yeah.
what?
I think Mr.
For
Brokenmeyer has a
loading
legitimate
and unloading?
right here.
And I can see it. Excuse me, just for a second. I can
What
see
your
it.
friends is.
And-
Okay.
That has absolutely nothing to do with it. If he was on the city council, I'd be making the same argument. I'd be stating the exact same thing. We do not have a shortage of parking, number 1. Number 2, those aren't parking spaces. There's egress to and from my building. And I conceded that you can have the 1 dock space that's at the far end, because right now I'm not using that. But in the future, if I happen to be expanding my business to where I would have to have egress to that dock, I would probably come before the city council and ask to have that space reallocated for dock access and not to allow parking there. If I sold the building, I would ask for that. If I rented the building, I would probably have to ask for that, because anyone, contractor, anybody else doing that type of business would want to have access to the building and not have to be able to hunt somebody down that's parked in front of those loading docks. That's what they are. They're called loading docks. It's a train depot. It's a
It's not a
depot.
train.
That's what we use it for. We use it for where, oh, it was formerly a train depot. Well, that's a word of semantics, Perry. It's a train depot, whether you want to call it a train
The
depot or
tracks
not.
that were-
It's a train depot.
The tracks that were.
It's a train depot.
No,
That's not true.
We
That's
have
not true.
5 minutes.
That's not true. Okay. So,
I think it.
do we have to bring this up at the city council meeting? I
If you
mean,
want to.
okay, so what's the action of the city, the posse that was formed? There was no process whatsoever. So there was basically 3 members of the city that decided to, for whatever reason, decided that they, I don't know, just wanted to mess with Kurt's business, because there is no shortage of parking.
Number one, there was
Decided-
not a
there is no
meeting
shortage.
of 3.
Okay, so then why was this done? Who did it? Who enacted it? I would like to know who enacted it.
No more questions.
Okay, well, I'd like this brought up at the city council meeting, and I would like it discussed and either voted on or whatever needs to be done at the next city council meeting, because the modus operandi that you all perpetrated had absolutely 0 due process. I was never informed of this action at
Well,
all.
I didn't even know you had done that until last Thursday.
Now, you
When
don't even
I
know
was
how to
walking
do it.
around.
We're through.
Listen just a second. But I'm going to ask you, did you not have a vehicle in any of those places?
You can't do that.
Yeah,
What?
no.
You can't, you're gonna tell me I can't park
No,
in
what
front of my own
I'm
building?
talking about Saturday, the day of the
I just keep
festival.
on going back to the festival, I'm not
Because
even
that's
here.
what got me into it. My numbers were thrown down.
That
But
has
I'm
nothing to do with the
Kurt,
festival.
listen, it
That,
does.
no, it doesn't, that actually
If
has
you-
zero to do with the festival.
If you
Zero.
leave a vehicle sitting in one of those spaces Saturday morning, I will have it towed.
Why,
Then comes Monday, you can go back to doing whatever you want to. I can care
why would I
less.
have a vehicle parked there?
I'm just telling you not to.
Okay.
We told all their businesses the same
Okay,
thing.
I guess you can threaten me with towing my vehicle, but my vehicle's
I'm
never
not
gonna be there.
threatening you, that's what we asked, that we
Okay.
have no vehicles.
Very good. Well, I'd like this discussed in the city council meeting, and I would like this brought up in the proper manner that any business should be done in the city. And I would like to state that this is exactly why we're in the problems we're in right now.
And he said that you, I could ask you to stop. So that's what I'm asking you to do.
Right on.
Right on.
Next on the agenda item,